Yo, what's up, guys? I do know not that many people do care about Special League, but if you do want to get a new highest rank, I think 4-star Special League is the easiest one to do. Why is that? Well, few different reasons. Well, currently I'm not playing that much Special League myself, but just a video to help you guys out if you do want to get a new highest rank in this. So why is 4-star Special League a lot easier? What should you rune for it? And there's a few units, like a lot of people think about like their Amduets and their Cleaves and that kind of stuff. But there's a few units out there that might actually help you a lot more than just specifically those, because you're countering those with that. But first of all, why is Special League 4-star the easiest to actually get a new highest rank? Is because if you take the effort to properly rerune and they don't, you have the upper hand. Keeping that in mind, what is one of the most interesting units to rune up? Well, a lot of people probably have been runing up their Amduets, doing a shit ton of damage with the Amduet, making it fast, making it despair. Really good unit. I think a lot of people also have been already picking up on the Ayunu. I would recommend to go for a Vampire Will set, probably on the 100 crit rate, maybe a little bit faster in case you don't get hit. But this one is really good against the AoE Cleaves. Keep in mind, it's only good against AoE Cleaves. It's not good against the CC additional damage artifact Cleaves, because the additional damage artifact Cleaves, they mostly tend to be a lot more tanky, and they will survive Ayunus like this. So it often means it's like, oh, Ayunu takes a turn, kills one, Ayunu takes another turn, maybe kills a second, or maybe it doesn't even kill the first two, and then it just simply dies off. But in the case of where you have like a CC Cleave, as in you're fighting like a Shimete, or you're fighting like Julies or those kind of things, it's definitely a lot better in those kind of things. But one of the units that I actually see a few people in the very high ranks pick up, but in the lower ranks not as much yet, is Chloe. And Chloe is actually incredibly good for this because it has a 111 base. It does have a leader skill of 20 in arena, which is pretty good because the highest you can get is a 24. 20 is already being very close to that. It is one of the very few units in game, like throughout the whole game, that is a speed lead, speed awakening unit, plus a speed contester unit, to the sense, if you start off with a fanatic, you will get invisible immunity. If we look at the current strippers that are mostly working over here, everything is kind of a low odd of stripping. So in this case, the Amduet strip is kind of a low rate. The Claire strip also has to go through multiple of those. Is pretty much a low rate. If people go for robos, first they have to strip before they absorb. And that's the cool thing about her. She has two buffs. If you add a shield set on top of that, we're looking at 3 over there. Plus, if they don't do any damage, because of the invis, they're not breaking the shield. So having a shield, like guaranteed unit in your comp, maybe put that towards the Amduet, or maybe if you have a fast shield set on the Chloe itself, it really does help out to have 3 buffs. And most of the strippers out there, Gemini, terrible against multiple buffs. Amduet, terrible against multiple buffs. Claire, terrible against multiple buffs. What else do we have? Robos, pretty terrible against multiple buffs. The only thing that actually does arguably good against multiple buffs is, I think, what's it called? I didn't even put it in here, where she at. This one, because I think she does hits for stripping all, yeah. She has like multi-hits and removes all. And there's not too many 4-stars that remove all in the first place. So yeah, Chloe in general sense, rune up a Chloe is really good. Chloe's one of those units where I did place those elsewhere already, but if you have those typical flat stats, which normally are like, I don't really know where to put those flat stats, place them on Chloe. Chloe really doesn't give that much shits about the base stats and everything. It is nice to have a little bit more HP for healing, but in the end, she only does a little bit more damage on her S1, which is pretty decent. If you put a lot of HP to her and crit damage and she random crits, she actually does do a fair bit of damage. It's kind of stupid. Artifact-wise, you're just going like whatever on the left side, probably some damage reductions, and then a hard recovery on the S2 on the right side. And that's about all. She's relatively really easy to build because she doesn't really need any stats besides just speed. She doesn't really need will runes or anything. She just wants speed. Sure, shield set would be very nice if you have a very fast one over there. But that's definitely one of those units. And if we look at the people at the top, there's a lot of people at the top actually utilizing her a lot. And that's also mostly where you go more in towards the bruiser kind of things rather than going for a lot of AoE CC meta. And I've definitely seen that with Ozara over here. And there's a bunch of other players. I do know that people at the top who is playing this kind of stuff as well. Beat-O, I think, as well. Seiishizo, I think so too. Pinkroid, I'm not 100% sure. Well, let's see what Pinkroid actually plays at the moment. But the thing is, it is always better to play a counter to the meta than play the meta itself. So in this case, Pinkroid is actually playing the meta itself. Yep, definitely playing the meta itself. But still utilizing that Chloe at the end over there. So, yep, definitely, he has great additional damage artifacts. So definitely he can get away with all of those. Also, Rigel is one of those units that I haven't spoken about, but also one of those counter-meta units that is very strong. I did rune up my Rigel like this. Not entirely sure if this is the best state for Rigel. I would definitely recommend to go for Violent, because with Violent you have a chance to go for multi-hits on top of everything, and it's just better to have like a freeze already and a slow and all of that good stuff. And I would say mainly focus on additional damage artifacts and adding in a lot of stats. You can go for crit rate 4, but I wouldn't really go for crit damage 4. You also don't need that much speed. Maybe I overstacked a little bit too much on the speed, but you could remove this one for like a higher HP or an attack one. But you definitely want to be focusing on high additional stats on everything. Also, of course, keep in the Magnum, but I think that one is relatively common as well. Interesting that he still wins that one. So yeah, definitely a lot of those kind of units. It's also the more units you rune up, the better it will probably do for you. Fran, also one of those very strong units. Asher, super strong. But those are definitely common out there. People do keep those in mind in general sense. But a thing like a Chloe is definitely something that I don't see everyone utilize. Over here, once again, Chloe match. And that's definitely, if you struggle with those kind of AoE hitters, Chloe is really good. And this comp is actually very good in general. I'm not too sure about the Miying, but I really like the combination of these three with the Rigel, the Chloe, and the Amduet, because it's pretty much countering everything. And since you have the speed lead over here, plus 2 fast units, like there's pretty much no way that these units are going to be faster than these units because of the speed lead. So the ban over here is actually kind of bad, but he does know I have that many multi-hitters that the Rigel will be super annoying. So having the Chloe and the Rigel next to one another, one of the two becomes a must ban against pretty much the most meta comp. Because I think when you're starting off, it's a lot of cleave damage comps. You see a lot more like straight up damage with like Julies and Shimetes and that kind of stuff. The moment you get higher, it's more based on artifact damage, where you get all kinds of multi-hitters, AoE multi-hitters, and then they tend to do a lot of damage from that. But the simple fact is, this is a 20 lead against this is a 19 lead, or is that also a 24 lead? I think it's a 19 lead. Wait, I have to double check that. I am pretty sure it's a 19 lead, but I could definitely be mistaken. Yep, 19 lead. So you have a higher lead, and you have, compared to her base, how much are we looking at the base? 103 base towards a 111 base. So you have one higher in the, so you have one higher in the base. So you have one higher in the lead, and you have 8 higher in the base stats. That is very easy to actually outspeed that. And plus, Chloe actually needs like proper stats. It needs the accuracy, it needs this, it needs that, this thing. If you have good flat stats, you're gonna love them, Chloe. So let's actually utilize a match, and let's just see if we get into a match where we are facing the meta comp, and then we play the anti-meta comp, which is, of course, the Chloe, the Rigel, the Amduet, the Ayunu, those kind of things. If you want to add more bruises to the table, you're looking towards like Vigors, you're looking towards Ashers, you're looking towards Triana. Triana, actually one that I did not mention as of yet, but absolutely a goated great unit as well. This Triana, with just crit rate and a lot of speed, does do an insane amount of damage. I did also add in more crit damage on the skill 1, and then it's just a bunch of minus stuff. But there's not too much stats to this by the first look of it, but just the crit rate and a little bit of crit damage on a high speed already makes you do a lot of damage. You do have to keep in mind that if you're playing the Special League and you do want to push for Special League, you're going to be waiting a lot at this screen. That's definitely something you have to keep in mind. It is annoying, it is definitely a something, but yeah, if you do want to get the next best rank, this is probably the best timing to do so. And let's see what we have on this match. I hope that he's going to go for the meta comp with AoE units or any kind of cleave units. And I will be playing the anti-meta, starting off with, in my opinion, Amduet, because my Amduet's just pretty good rune. So let's see what he has over there. Actually joins in on Bruiser meta. So if he joins in on Bruiser meta, you can always still switch to go for the cleave meta yourself. Let's see what he does over here. Probably goes for the anti-meta right now. Let's see if he actually does go for that. I already have 2 speed leads. Then the Chloe becomes a little bit less interesting right there. Does go for Rigel right away. Great play right there. Does make the Ayuni become... Actually, he is playing the anti-meta right now. Okay, interesting, interesting. Let's see what we do. Actually, to be honest, if they full-on play the anti-meta, I still play the full-on damage meta. That is just mostly what I do. So that's actually what I'm going to do over here as well. So... that is also the thing, how do you counter all of these things? And if you went for a Chloe in one of those slots, like a Chloe over here plus an Ayuna over here, I would have been having to ban both. Since the Ayuno only comes in here right now, I have to definitely ban the Ayuno. It's probably he should be banning out the Grosveld because that would add him most damage. He does actually know that. Great ban from him right there. Let's see if I still have enough damage. I'm not 100% sure about that. Maybe I should have actually went for a Gemini. And with Gemini, I would have added in a lot more damage than I would have added in with the Julie. But let's see how much damage I can do. So first of all, it's always kind of RNG how many stuns you get, right? So we do get a fair bit of stuns. If he is smart, he should not be hitting that. It lowers the damage output by a bit, but he could have lowered a lot more by simply hitting the Julie over here. Hitting the Julie right there is definitely the right way to play, because then I wouldn't have had 6 shots instead of, or I would have had 4 shots instead of 6 shots. So let's go for that one over there. Does actually freeze it. That's totally fine. Probably goes for heal. Also fine. Let's see that we take out you first. Armor break is good. Can we land this? We do land not that much, but then we kill over there. That's good. He's probably going to go for this right now. I think I'm still in a good spot. So that's kind of the thing where, sure, he kind of had the anti-meta, but he didn't play the anti-meta fully. Where the Triana felt like, okay, it was going to do something, but it actually didn't do as much. I don't have that much crit rate on this thing, therefore it's missing some crits. But I should definitely be winning against this. I have seen some of these on a vampire build as well. Would not recommend. Definitely go for a violent build. It will do a lot more. So that is kind of a good example of how not to play the anti-meta right there. But let's see if I can get a match in where I can get to play the anti-meta with a Chloe. Because a Chloe in his team, a Chloe rather than the Triana, would have probably made it that the Chloe outspeeds me. If he outspeeds the Clara, I can probably not do anything anymore. Because then he simply has like the Fanatic up. Me stunning anything is very difficult, and then he has a very good rotation of anything going in. Okay, once again, still going for that Amdo at first pick. Otherwise, what are good first picks? I would say that something along the lines of Asher's, Franz, Vigors are even good first picks. I wouldn't right away start first picking Chloe, because what is the counter to a Chloe itself? Biggest counter I've noticed is a chilling. So if they have a lot of buffs, just start rocking in the chilling, you will absolutely annihilate them. Okay, so in this case, he's going to go for the cleave comp, so let me go for the counter cleave. So I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to go for that right away. There are a few units to counter Ayunu, so I wouldn't rock in Ayunu in the slot 3. I will mainly rock it in slot 4, slot 5. But just to make sure that I get those units in the comp right now, just to see what he's going to be reacting to that right now. Because Draco is always based on damage cleaves. They cannot really go that much towards like double robos or any kind of shenanigans like that. So let's see what he does actually lock in with that. This is probably his way to counter Ayunu. Does that? Yeah, cannot be revived. Interesting one. Absolutely interesting one. Let's see. We do have one lead over there. I could go for this one over here. That is an option. How many hits do you do? You have 5 hits. That is definitely a lot of hits, because otherwise I would say Triana would be interesting. But since it's a 5 hit, it's not that interesting. I think we're just going to go back to good old Antares. I think that's going to be our play right now, because none of these units really have that much to say towards an Antares. Other units that could have been good is, of course, a Vert. I think Vert would have been incredibly strong over here in the first place. Maybe should have been a better option right there. But I think it is kind of fine. Let's see what he rocks in the final pick. I think I have a pretty strong draft with the moment that this dies to this, which is more likely than dying to this. I can still ban this out as well. And he definitely has to be aiming at banning out the Chloe over here. So let's see. He goes for that as a final pick. Okay, it's not a bad take, but I am going to be removing this, and I think I am going to be fine. Well, if I remove this, I have the speed advantage. Sure, he has a 30 lead. It's actually an interesting 30 lead. That thing is probably on the fast set. Now, I'm actually going to be banning out this. Does he ban out the Ayunu? No, he actually does know the tech with the Chloe. That Chloe is going to be very annoying for him if he leaves that in. So let's see if he gets the attack buff. That's the thing why I don't really like Draco that much. It's not a bad unit, but it's RNG if you get the attack buff or not. So let's see. Does move in front of me. That thing is actually on violent, at least by the looks of it. Yep, does look to be, seems to be violent. Did get attack buff on this one. That is really bad for me, but let's just see. I hope that Antares doesn't move in front of this right now. Okay, he makes that. Now Antares is allowed to move. Okay, I think we're going to be losing Antares. That's a lot of damage on that one right there. Wow. Okay, does he go for the Antares? He should go for the Antares. Does go for the Antares. Antares doesn't do shit. That is still fine. S2 does do a lot of damage. We insta-kill this. That is good. We also insta-kill this over there. Okay, not really. Can we still get a stun off? We did get a very lucky stun off over there. If he doesn't go cycling right now, I think I'm still kind of good to go. Goes for the S2, that is fine. Let's take this out first. And let's actually lower the HP on you. Okay, did get a glancing hit over there, but we have multi-hits on you. Because of the multi-hits on you, I am kind of okay to simply just do this. Oh, I did crit on the first hit, but not on the second. If I critted the other way around, it would have been a lot better. Okay, he does move in front right now. That's kind of bad. That is kind of bad. Okay, so in the end, Garrow, not a bad unit as well. Was a little bit lucky on the attack buff, I guess, but he does have the speed buff again, right? Halfway. Okay, that's not really helping out. And he crits on that. Yep, then we die over there. That is just the thing. So Garrow in the end, yep, did do better than expected. So also one of those counter meta units that might actually be pretty interesting to lock in, rock in at some point. It's more interesting for a Draco in the first place, but not a bad one. He did understand that the Chloe was going to be his big issue. Okay, let's see for the next. Once again, going in with an Amtuet. Amtuet's not really a must of a first pick. I just kind of want to first pick it. Okay, he's going to go for these, so definitely let's rock in the Chloe. On the other side, he already goes for CC kind of units, which makes it a little bit worse to go for something along the lines of a Triana. But let's right away go into something that's great into this one, which is the Rigel. So let's see what he goes from here. Still goes full on all of those units. I could go for this one right now, but I did mention it is a little bit worse into the full CC kind of style and comp. But I am kind of tempted to still go for it. I could also work on a Magnum to counter your boost, because then I could take a turn right after. But I am kind of aiming to maybe ban you out if I go for Chloe right now, because with that I can outspeed those. Does have one lead just now, and do we still go Ayunu in there? I actually would have rather seen a Triana. I think Triana would have probably done a little bit better. Could have been CC'd as well, but I think we're kind of okay with this because it does deny his turns a little bit. Thing is, he needs a speed leads and he needs a speed contesting unit right now, and you cannot draft him both. So that is definitely going to be an issue for him in this case. I should have definitely went for Triana in this, because the Triana would have had more odds of me taking turns, and this thing will take a turn, but it's kind of trying to counter something that is already countered to a certain extent. So we do have a Fran in there. I will go for, yeah, that's actually a really good counter to this in the first place then again. Because I kind of have to get rid of the Asher, otherwise his whole team will move in front of me. If I do this, I do still think his Asher will outspeed me, because he has... Will it though? No, I think we're actually going to go for this. Once again, they do ban out the Chloe, so they do actually know it's like, yo, Chloe is just good. So if you haven't yet built up a Chloe, I can't even get that unit into a match right now. That's the big issue. If I had the Triana in this slot, it would have been better. Oh, it does actually outspeed me. That's kind of bad, because then we have issues on landing this most likely. And yeah, Amduet into full buffs most of the time doesn't land that great. How much A to B do we get over there? Not enough. Okay, does get a fair bit of damage. You only do... Yeah, we first have to do this one. Okay, we do get that. We can freeze. Nice. Okay, goes for that skill. Issue is, if this thing dies to dots, it pretty much doesn't count. So that's definitely always an issue for... Or it does count, but it's not really going to kill anything with that. So that's always definitely a big issue on that. You do have the S3, so you're going to kill anything after this. Which, yeah, Gina, very strong unit as well. Can we push this back? Man, the amount of dots on that is just insane. We do get a full turn. We can still do a fair bit of damage on that. We do stun too. Very lucky over there. If we hit that, that's a lot of damage right there. I would say lucky by the stuns. If I didn't have that stun in there, I would have probably lost. But yeah, that's kind of the thing where the counter cleave was still in there. I would have said that, would have Triana in the end do better? Well, the thing is, I kind of had the issue with the dots. If the dots didn't kill me right there, then Ayuno would have been in a better spot. So therefore, damage cleave is counted harder by Ayuno rather than what I was doing over here. But let's see if we can finally get a match where we can get a Chloe in. So maybe if I play like a different style, they can maybe more go for like outspeeding me, and therefore I get the Chloe in regardless. Okay, he goes for that and that. So let's go for actually these two right now. So he's definitely going to go for the outspeed. Ooh, that's a dangerous one right there. So let's add in you. And I do think that I actually want to add in the Ayuno in here, or do I go for another water unit that could maybe counter things a little bit? I'm also somewhat tempted on a Vert, to be honest. Vert would also be a very interesting one. But then again, if Vert does get stunned, Vert is dead. Like, very, very dead right away. So, or do we just simply go for you? Well, let's go for you. I think he will be banning out this. Okay. Interesting one right there. I am not sure who's going to be the fastest of this whole bunch. I guess they're going to be focusing on killing that thing. So I think I'm going to be removing the speed lead. We do actually get the Chloe in this time around, so I should be outspeeding with the Chloe, and then I think I have a pretty solid game at hand. So I do outspeed. Yeah, I will guarantee outspeed this. My Amnode will move pretty fast after, but that can kind of disrupt him as well. So finally, I got a Chloe match-in. Let's see if we actually can take the W with the Chloe as well. Let's see where we move. Okay, we move over here. We get this in. He goes probably for a boost. Yep. This skill is not going to do anything right now. Completely wasted. Nice. We go for this skill over here. Did do a fair bit of damage on that one, but as you can see, he didn't even strip shit. And that is the power of Chloe. Like, it's not like, ooh, that was like crazy RNG and shit. No, it's just pretty common that if you have a Chloe, if you have 2 or more buffs, Robo really struggles into that. And that's the whole meta. Thank you very much, Jilo, for like showing me what I was about to show. Chloe is just super strong into those things that only want to be stripping one thing. He didn't strip shit. Maybe it was a bit of resistance, but he first has to strip both buffs before he can absorb attack bar. And if he cannot absorb attack bar, the unit is just kind of garbage. Plus, stripping both is a lot more hard than stripping just one. So that was exactly what I wanted to show. Guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one. Definitely, if you want to climb ranks, start building that Chloe. You already did see like the danger by the Chloe. Chloe in every match was banned out except that one match. And the one match where she was in, she was absolutely goated. So I haven't played that much Special League myself yet. I will be aiming for 1450 at some point, because with the 1450, it's just like a lazy G2. But I mostly tend to get that when there's just 3 days left on the clock. I will actually be flying to Shanghai tomorrow, so I will not be making that many videos for the next week and a half. And then after that, I'm back in the Netherlands and I will be starting looking at more videos. Hopefully, Contours has some more interesting stuff coming around that time. I did make a video about something coming big, hopefully, because most of the time, end of July or start of August is big patches, collabs, or anything good. So please come to us, make something work, because we're all kind of bored out of our minds. Guys, thanks a lot for watching, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.